Hey, I was just going to share with everyone. I just watched a short little snippet, and because this subject is vast, if you begin to perceive it as information, coded information, however you translate the language in whatever sound and communication in sound, as I mentioned before, there's no way that I could ever communicate the amount of energy that I know that I am, because I'm in everything, everything. Okay, that's why when I think of the shadow group beings, the breaches and what have you, okay, there isn't anywhere they are that we're not. Put it that way. Because it began with me, which is what love is, that goes on forever, gifting electrons. So this is sort of why I've shared this before. When I've gone into their classes, in all the what I call traditional, they're what they teach. This is not how we teach. Okay, they have it ass backwards. They got to reverse engineer everything, and that's because they're inverted. Okay, when the complexity of something to them is complex, it's like all the bits and bytes. If you want to think of it as bits and bytes, it would say represent a software. Okay, a communications platform that was built in which everybody's connected to that platform. Or the tree. I call it a tree trunk. The tree of life creation. Okay? So if your light, which is atom, is in everything, then atom can be wherever atoms are. Okay? So atoms communicate. So when your light is purified, which is the purest of light there is because it burns that fucking hot, you get the picture. Monopole, an oversoul. Okay? So that means you've got a key code or a pass key. That's the true key. Okay? It opens up everything. And why I used to say, wherever you find love, real true love, playing a flute, a clarinet, you'll find us. In living spirit. The spirit of fire is in that light. Spirit of fire is in that water. So he mentioned how the gravitic side of things work, and so I've mentioned this before, that if you're inside of a galaxy and you're at the center point of perfect balance between every single star, every single sphere, every single cell, every living organism, then your galaxy, your galactic tornado, is in perfect balance, isn't it? And when it's in perfect balance, it means it's not seeking to bump into something else because it's not going off course with its consciousness. Because the water worlds from which everything is vibrating is naturally in a state of peace, love, harmony, and balance, which means we know how to naturally, as Dr. Greer put it, naturally tune in. Wow, we're tuned in. Yeah, so that's why I've mentioned this before. I have what's called a cosmic level antenna. That means it's wide open. That means that everything that is out there that can communicate to my antenna, it's an open antenna. So now you begin to understand the vibrational speed of a radio set with an FM frequency gain of function modulation as an antenna. So we modulate it based on what we're experiencing here, based on the resistance, because I realize I've mentioned this before. When I was in Grants Pass, I thought my entire suit was just going to come apart at the seams from the center point out. And I would burst into something that's represented by all that energy because of what I realize is in all that energy, which is what I am that's in all that energy, which is completely fry everything all around. And it would just become something totally different, right? In other words, that's an enormous amount of energy release. Okay? So that was just like down the road here when I mentioned about vibrating so fast because I found a place. Whoa! No, 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 no. Cool your jets, baby. Boom. Gone. Yep. I remember one time there was something that the Covens of Azazel What's his name? D-S-A-H-K. Dante Satori, A-H-K. I think he was putting up there 8868, something like that. And when you look that up and went to the NCBI, the National Center for Biotechnology Technology Information, you saw in there human. Right? What is human? H-U-H, hydrogen. You know how you get into the goalpost, which is strictly a line, two lines going up and one that's on the cross. That's the shape of it, right? That's the geometric of it. It's an alpha letter, alphanumerical letter. Letters are energy, numbers are energy. Now you get into all the programming codes, right? So Dr. Greer, what happens here, and I try and share this so you can sort of see how reverse engineer, which is really inversion. Okay, it's inverted simply because of the fact that anytime that you're having to break down the building blocks of how a universe is put together, then it means that you don't really know how it's put together, which means you're searching to try and figure the fuck out. Okay. I know. Listen, if a 4-year-old little kid can explain this in less than probably 3 or 4 sentences, right? And then you know that you're already there. It is, Terence McKenna, to his credit, realized that the complexity of it is really the simplicity of it. And it is the simplicity of it that explains the complexity of it. So when you are the simplicity of it, and then they want to drive the complexity of it, we go back to the simplicity of it, from which it came. Okay, which is what love is. Oh, man. Okay, that's your pass key. Now you're on fire. Now you're on fire with all the other fire. See? And what that means is that your state of consciousness, which is your energy, which is what love is automatically free. Because it means that your spirit that is in that light, which is spiritual energy, is naturally free because that's the gift of the cosmos. Now you're experiencing the gift. Now you naturally gift it away. Didn't they used to call that pay that forward? P, parking. Park your space arc right here, buddy boy. Remember the games? Barkers, carnival barkers. Hey, get your popcorn here. You know, and it's fun. It's fun navigating your way through it, but you realize what it actually represents, because if you actually dwell and use your energy, choosing to experience what it is that they are instead of what you are, you're never going to have any fun down here. Experiencing heaven that lives in your heart and your soul with the essence of your spirit, which is the energy that you are, right? Right? I mean, I don't know. You'd have to tell me. Share with me how it is you experience being what you are. How beautiful is the universe? How bad are you? How am I going to learn how everybody else is that is out there that is possible to experience if I'm not willing to experience everything that's out there I've never experienced, which means you're doing it without any fear. And instead, you're bringing love in so they can know what you are. I am what love is. Now you know what I am. What are you? I don't have a name. I'm just energy. What kind of energy are you? I am what love is. That's the energy that I am. Spirit. What more do you need to know now that you know who I am? You want to go do something with my energy? Love is fun energy. Love is fun zone energy. Z on. The Z is on. The XYZ is on. Moto Z's. M-O. Moto. Like a motor. Like that one guy was saying in that movie, it was a funny movie, right? All this stuff is coded, and you got to laugh at all of it because George Carlin certainly did. But there was a movie about a guy that was a famous baseball player. I believe he's in the Hall of Fame. Played with the Yankees, might have played with another team, but they had like a biography of this guy. It was played by the same guy that played in The Fugitive. I can't remember his name. The one in the movies, not the TV series. You know, with the one-armed man, all that. That played a baseball player called Ty Cobb. And there was a guy that I believe he was a journalist they were having a conversation. He said, man, look at the motor on that ball. So you could see, they weren't showing it, but I could see in my own mind of baseballs being hit, high speed velocity in a vortex, right? Ball spinning with wings on it. The wing makers. sphere with wings on it. Yeah, sphere of light with wings on it. Wing makers. So when you have just a boatload of love in your heart with your imagination, then you can imagine what's possible to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic and give it another name, and then tell a love story out of all those moving parts that an artist can use dancing to the music of the stars, because it's easy to tune into them when you know how to run a radio set, which is your software to be able to tune in and have a clear channel. Hey, I got a clear channel. That's an open antenna. Hey, we found somebody down there with an open antenna. Well, that's a love energy bead. Oh, he's running a wide open stereo receiver and transmitter. Yeah. But, you know, it's, somebody said, yeah, Dante Satori said, oh, you're my friend, oh, you're my enemy. That must be the demon in the shadow, right? My friend and my enemy, my friend and my enemy. And so I'm obviously on fire, and that's a good thing, because it's easy to do on this island. I shouldn't say it's easy to do. It could be very difficult for somebody. How do I know? I only know how it works when I go do it. And it's called powering up, powering up, powering up the spirit, power up the energy, power up the light, power up the love. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, and that's really what it is. That is, by definition, an eek, which is an electrically excited kid. An electrically excited kid. Eeks, K. Yeah, and so it's, you know, the thing is that they're all being exposed now. The light. This isn't dead light, by the way. You're not going to find a living spirit and a goddess in a 20-watt light bulb. Right? Filaments, fiber optics. So it's beautiful to see a lot of things that are coming out, because you realize this is sort of how we measure the success and what everybody's been doing on behalf of the cause, right? See? It's a happy day. I remember I've known this privately and personally, because Michelle, bless your heart, girl, when I share a lot of very deep stuff, because you acknowledge the level that certain spiritual beings with souls operate at, okay? And so it doesn't, you know, the simplicity of it is like, ever been around the spirit of fire? Ever lit a campfire? Ignite it, right? So the simplest things become the easiest things to learn through. And nature is obviously, it's self-evident, is the greatest teacher. A lightning bolt just passed over my head. Wow. It's a tree. Now all of a sudden, fire. So there must be a connection between electricity and fire and light. See, so it's, I know this because just in this life book, I can only relate to this, because when you realize how vast, how many experiences have you had from which you've learned everything that is out there that's possible to experience, that library is there's no way that I can compress that much information of what's possible to experience that you've already experienced, and what's possible to experience in the future, what you're experiencing now, how much of what that is. You can't do that. So I don't even waste my time doing that. That's why it used to be when I was a child growing up, when you talk about how intelligent are you. Remember the old IQ test? And the way that males, little boys that I hung out with, they seemed to be dwelling on and focusing on how intelligent the male is supposed to be. In other words, I have superior intelligence. I have superior intelligence. How intelligent are you, right? Now you get into the smart grid crap, right? Hey, how smart are you? Okay, so if you don't want to be held captive in spirit, then you don't want to bring out technology that does. Now it's your master. That's right. When technology becomes your master, now you're inverted. Now you're going to get on your knees because your spirit wasn't more powerful than the technology. So now we're back to childhood, and when I'm looking at all my dad's manuals of what they're doing to reverse engineer something that's already been put together. In the way that the universe works in energy and consciousness, with souls and the essence of spirit. So everything is, spirit is in energy. It's in everything. Movement, the flow. Hey, wow, have you ever, like, go throw a pebble in a pond? Look at the ripples. Want to go ride those waves? Go be a little tiny bug and ride the wave on a little tiny board. Right? A dragonfly, you know. Ask a dragonfly if she's ever cut a surfboard and gone down YMA on a surfboard before. Draw a cartoon like that. Create one. Imagine it, right? Wow. A dragonfly surfboarding down YMA at 60 feet. Has anybody thought about that? Anybody created something like that? You ever seen a picture before of a dragonfly surfing, you know, a 15-foot board going down a 60-foot wave at Waimea? Matter of fact, go pick out any beach or any wave of your own. You know, the waves. The waves that we ride. So this is sort of how it bless your heart, all of you that are here. It's much like my father would say, where did you learn all this if you have not been to school yet? You know what the answer actually is? It comes natural. What are you trying to tell me? You don't need a guidebook? You don't need somebody to give you a guidebook? Yeah, I have guides. There are spirits that are amongst us that communicate with us. It's called the language of light, which is the language of light. So I know they're there. They protect me. I protect them. That's a different club, isn't it, George Carlin? Okay, 9 of clubs, 6 of clubs, Ace of hearts. And there's no coincidence why it is. How many cards are in that deck? DE, like Dell, DELL, D wave L, like the L, like an Elohim, like sing a hymn. So it's all coded. So it's fun. It's actually not funny, but when you when I was a little child, it was actually pretty easy to be able to know the difference between what love is and what love isn't. But obviously, the number of everything that you're experiencing that you know that isn't and is what love is, you can imagine how that measurement is actually scaled. When you start going through your schools in arithmetic, culture, history, science, civics, physics, math, biology, and all the rest of those courses, and you begin to realize, my God, I'm spending all of my energy and all of my time, and they're charging me for my own energy in order to learn stuff that's already been put together. In other words, I'm using all my engine, my consciousness, with my soul and the essence of my spirit, to pour through all this dense stuff according to all the rules that exist in all these manuals, because that's what a textbook is. It's programming. Okay, and the proof of that is you're going to get graded on your RAM. Okay, that's how bad it is. So what they do is they insult your intelligence by believing that in order to experience something now, you've got to reverse engineer it to experience something in the now, which is what love is. It goes on forever. That's why I've known since a child it was a major insult. Keep the duct tape on your face. Otherwise, you're going to be pointed out as an outlier, as if you're the inverter when you're the converter and a big transformer. In other words, you're the source of energy from which it all came. So if you're experiencing what love is, you have arrived. That's called contact. That means you met the one in the allied forces of mankind. That's what it means. Those are your relatives. I perceive everything as like a relative, having all come from the same stuff. right? So that's what makes it easy when you think about, or you feel in your heart and soul, what I do to you, I do to me. So when you're hyper sensitive, any loss at any level of the wave, the frequency that gets detected, that is anything less than the purest of fire, which is in the purest of light, becomes a known. Because you realize that you're everywhere. You're in everything. So that means that there isn't anything that they do that isn't fully transparent by the one, which is atoms. Atoms communicate with other atoms. And that's called the language of light, which is highly intelligent energy, which is conscious and self-aware of what's going on. And it has to be in order to protect what it's aware of, which is itself, eternal love energy. So anything that is less than what that is, then it will know that it exists and where it exists, wherever it exists, in which we become aware of what we are that isn't what we are. It's what it is. And whatever that is isn't what love is. Now you know. Wherever you go, what isn't what love is. That is the ultimate detection device. That is the ultimate sensor from which everything else is sensed with an antenna. That's how it works. That's simple. An antenna. A cell is an antenna.